Black Christmas, I gave you my heart, my hand, my arm. Black Christmas.
Welcome to Yael Matt recap stuff. We're wearing Christmas shirts. If you're watching the video on YouTube.
I'm wearing a Hanukkah shirt.
Yeah, I'm wearing a Life Day shirt. It's an obscure reference from the Star Wars holiday special, which doesn't reference Christmas.
Faster, Matt.
References Life Day,
Breathe.
which is a Wookiee-based holiday. Yeah, watch it on YouTube. It's a big waste of an hour and a half, but it's bizarre.
You watched it twice.
Drink some hard
Twice or
eggnog.
more.
Twice. For research purposes.
Yeah. And spending time purposes.
Yes, I wrote a very funny article. Search thehardtimes.net Chewbacca's son. And then you'll read it and laugh and laugh.
Ha ha ha.
So we talked about...
Christmas!
We're talking about the movie Black Christmas, 1974. Yeah. Classic that a lot of movies were inspired by and pulled from and get referenced in very...
Really good movie.
Smart movies like Scream. We watched it. It's on Amazon Prime, I think.
The movie came out in 1974.
Yeah, like I said 2 minutes ago.
Really?
Yeah.
I wasn't listening.
Yeah, that happens a lot. So,
I'm sorry. You're talking too fast sometimes.
Yeah. Well, the movie starts off with the point of view of the person that will turn out to be a killer lurking in a sorority house outside. It's nighttime. He begins climbing up this ladder. It's attached to the garden up into the attic, which is filled with spider webs, but you don't see any spiders because they don't always hang out in the webs. Do you want me to go?
Do you want me to go?
Spider webs are traps. You don't know why there's spider webs in attics.
I said that already, and
we had to, this is our second time recording.
Yeah, because you almost died.
I had a coughing fit.
Yeah, disgusting one. So it was the beginning. Anyway, we talked about the fact that there are a lot of like spider webs in Halloween or in attics in horror movies or in basements, but there are not enough spiders, and the spider webs are extremely big, and it's like if it's not Spider-Man, I don't think the real spider.
Well, see, spider webs are traps. They're not hangouts for spiders. They're traps.
Have you ever been in an attic or a basement with spiders and spider webs?
Yes.
You can see them in the corners.
Yeah, I know, but you don't see the spiders hanging out in them because they wait until a fly or a bug is stuck in them.
Yeah, but you can see them.
And then they go in. So back to the movie. She grew up in a
creepy village.
So you see the point of view of this guy, and then there's people are having a party. There's guys and gals in very 70s regalia, unlike The Conjuring, which wasn't 70s enough because it was filmed in the 2000s. But this movie,
I could believe them that it's the 70s.
Takes place in the 70s. It was filmed in the 70s. They got the 70s Jufro guy down pat. So this guy talks about how he's going to be Santa the next day at this charity event they're doing for underprivileged kids. And meanwhile, the Prowler has made his way into the attic. And they get a phone call. And it's for Barb, who's the head bitch of the household. And it's her mom. She can't hear her, so she goes in the other room. And she says, you know what, I got to kick all these men out of the house anyway. Boys, it's time to go. Talks to the mom. No, I'm not drinking that much. I'm fine. Blah, blah, blah.
She's always drunk. Along all the movie.
They're talking about making plans for the holidays. People are going home for Christmas. It's nearing. And all the guys leave. Then another girl gets a phone call. And she announces to the rest of the sorority, it's him again. The moaner.
Oh, wait, I didn't say. So they're answering the phone in a very 70s way. That you can believe that this is the 70s. It's not like, hey... Hello. It's like, hello? Hello?
People talk differently then. They didn't know who was calling. They didn't know who was calling.
Yeah.
So,
they were extremely surprised by the phone call. Hello?
Yeah. So.
There's someone on the other side.
So it's the moaner, and he starts getting real vulgar real early in the movie. Let me lick your pretty pink cunt. Barb starts talking back to her. He says, I could come and kill you. And hangs up. And the girls tell Barb she shouldn't provoke the guy because there was a town girl that was raped last week. And then they start saying some very not flattering things about how towny girls can't be raped or something terrible. It's even more terrible taken in the present day context.
Hashtag me too.
First of all, college kids and town people don't always get along. There's 32 colleges in Boston. college kids can be annoying, but I was one once for several years. You were one for a few hours. So,
Months.
you know. Yeah. So, Claire, who is a young girl there, Barb kind of picks on her a little bit. And so she goes upstairs to pack to go home for the holidays to her fluffy cat, whose name is Claude, which is kind of a nice name for a cat.
Is it her cat? No, it's the.
I think it's the house. I think it's the house cat.
The
So
house
she's up there with the cat hanging out. She takes clothes out of the closet, and then there's a man hanging out, hiding behind the clothes, and he's behind specifically a plastic bag that's used for dry cleaning.
Which reminded me of scene of the I Remember What You Did Last Summer. Did I say it right?
No.
Oh my god.
I know what you did.
I know what you did last summer.
It's so
When Sarah Michelle Gellar is like standing and there's like a lot of like nylons, and the killer is under one of the nylons. So you see the killer like through a nylon, so it's kind of weird. You see his hand. You're like, oh my god. So it is like.
So meanwhile, downstairs, the sorority mother comes home, who is an adult that lives there and kind of keeps charge of things. Her name is Mrs. Mack. She comes in with a big bundle of gifts for everyone, and they start opening it, making a big fuss and talking loudly, while Claire is upstairs being strangled with the dry cleaning bag. And then the guy takes her body upstairs into the attic, up the ladder. And then in one of the recurring scenes from the movie, Mrs. Mack takes booze that is hidden in a book on a shelf and chugs it in the other room, despite the fact that there is a full bar at the party and there's booze in the house. Maybe she's just hiding it from the kids. And
Yeah, she doesn't want them to know that she's an alcoholic.
Yeah. And then there's another girl who gets a phone call. Her name is Jess. She has kind of a weird accent. It sort of sounds a little British at times. She gets a call from Peter, and Jess wants to talk to her about something in person. So, you know, things are serious. Maybe she wants to break up with them. Usually it's like, no, I don't want to talk to you about something in person, and then it's something good.
Yeah, and then he tells her, I love you. And she's like, I know.
I know.
And it was so mad because that's his line.
I said that once.
He said that once in a very not cool way.
Yeah, well, you were annoying me, and so I said I know. Because I
He
did.
still regrets it, so...
No, I stand by it, because why live life with regrets?
Get out.
It's become a good inside joke
Yeah, it
for
is.
us.
Yeah.
So Mrs.
Yeah,
Mack,
I know he loves me anyway.
Mrs. Mack takes booze out of a toilet that is
very dirty
in
toilet.
the back of the toilet.
Yeah, how do you call it?
She drinks
Yeah,
the tank of the toilet,
Yeah.
and she starts drinking that while brushing her teeth, and it's sherry, by the way. And
Really?
yeah. Jess knocks on Claire's door, and she's in a rocking chair upstairs, and then her old bald man is waiting for her daughter on campus to bring her home.
Who looks just like Ned Flanders. It's really cute.
If he's bald. Ned Flanders is not bald.
Yeah.
He has
but
glasses.
Like the glasses and the mustache. Oh, hey, young man, can you...
Yeah.
I just thought about that.
He does talk to a young man who is not very polite to him. And then I think the kids throw a snowball and her dad knock him down. So it's Claire's dad. And then the next day, you got like Jew Fro Santa. He is very annoyed and vulgar while kids are sitting on his lap, calling his girlfriend a bitch. And then Claire is disappointed at the atmosphere, gives his opinion of this to Mrs. Mack. She says, well, Claire is probably at the... He says that about the house, the sorority house. There's booze and posters that are inappropriate on the wall. College girls being college girls in the 70s.
Yeah, Barb gives a kid drink from her wine.
Yeah.
Like,
but this is at separate times. So Mrs. Mack says that...
The same party.
No, but they haven't gone to the party yet. He's at the house. So Mrs. Mack says she's probably at the party, and she'll give him a ride there, after elaborately trying to hide the fact that there's a bare ass as a peace sign on a poster or something. The dad sees it. there's some funny moments in this.
Yeah.
And the killer is looking out at this the whole time. And then we see Jess and Peter meeting, and she tells Peter she's pregnant, but she doesn't want to keep the baby. She wants to have an abortion.
And he's so mad at her.
Yeah.
He's like, no, you always consider yourself, which I think that yourself, that's like the most part that should be considered, the mother.
Yeah.
She doesn't want to ruin her hips or her...
It is a woman's choice. And so Peter's playing the piano. He's practicing for this recital for his piano class he's in or something. And then later, Jess gets another dirty phone call. Claire's dad goes with two of the girls to the police department.
And that's when I learned a new word.
Oh, yeah. We'll get to that.
Yeah.
And the guy working the desk is a bit of a dick. And he tells Barb to shut up a few times and says that Claire is probably out with a boy. But they leave the phone number, and Barb gives the phone number. And back in the 70s, it were like, this is before area codes and stuff, so they used extensions. And she gives her the house number and says it's extension fellatio and spells it to her. And I had to explain what fellatio is.
I didn't know.
So if you don't know what fellatio is, it is...
Oral sex.
Yeah. Yes. Sucking a dick. Because cunnilingus is oral sex. Also a big word.
But where did it come from?
And that means licking a pink cunt.
Where did...
Italy. It sounds like it comes from Italy.
Fellatio.
Fellatio.
Oh my god.
So,
you did very well.
Jess goes to find Claire's hockey goalie boyfriends to see if they're together.
And funny fact, he was wearing a fur coat.
Yeah, he looked
very big
very
one.
stylish.
Yeah, it's a Russian coat.
He wasn't wearing a fur coat while they were playing hockey, by the way.
Oh no, when he left. But that coat in Russian called shuba. And shuba. And it's a funny fact that I read after that we watched the movie. So this coat is still till today in his closet.
Ooh.
Which is cool, yeah.
And then
it's expensive coat.
Peter struggles through his piano exam as this looming abortion is on his head. And then a mom reports a 13-year-old girl missing at the police station. Claire comes in angry about... not Claire. Someone comes in asking... maybe Claire's boyfriend... Oh yeah, her dad comes in. No, it's actually... I think it's Barb. Angry about whether or not taking her disappointment seriously. Oh yeah, comes in to talk to the... Claire's boyfriend. Okay, I wrote Claire. It's Claire's boyfriend. Goes to talk to a detective, or actually a lieutenant, about why they're not taking this disappearance seriously. Apparently they're friends. Talks to the detective. He knows their Claire's dad stays for dinner but isn't hungry. And then drunken Barb tells everyone there's a type of turtle species that can screw for 3 days. And then accuses everyone of blaming her for why Claire is missing. Peter destroys the piano.
Oh my god, I hate seeing that.
And then
like pianos or like instruments are getting ruined.
Well, at least he didn't destroy a dog.
Yeah.
So the police lead a search...
Instruments and dogs, no, don't do that.
So the police lead a search party for the 13-year-old girl because they're taking that more seriously than the 18 or 19-year-old girl. But Claire's dad and boyfriend and the girls from the house, they join the search. Mrs. Max says she's going to go get ready to go to her sister's house for the holiday. So she drinks and sings and packs and looks for Claude, who was last seen in Claire's room before she got suffocated.
By the way, that was the moment that I told you that it reminds me of the Gremlins house. And then you were like, yeah, but it happened like a few years before. It was in the 70s. And
you thought this movie took place in the 80s.
In the late 80s. Why? Because it's really good. Like
you don't think 70s movies are good?
No, I do, but you can feel the like less technology somehow. They did like a really good job with like the scenes and the script, and it was just like an amazing film. Like yeah.
It's Elvis's favorite Christmas movie. He watched it every year.
I said that.
Mrs. Mack goes through the house looking for Claude, goes up into the attic, and there you see hands holding the back of a swing with a big heavy iron hook laying in wait. Mrs. Mack turns, He swings the hook, and it goes up under the soft part of her chin, and he pulls the rope, bringing her up to all the way up to the attic. And her cab, who's waiting for her, drives off, and then the killer has a tantrum up in the attic.
And the cat is there all the time. In the attic.
Was it?
Yeah. Yeah, so it's basically not the house cat, it's the killer's cat.
So the search party resumes outside for the 13-year-old girl. They're around a barrel fire and keeping warm. And they hear a girl scream. So the mom and Claire's dad go to see what happened. Meanwhile, Jess is still home. She gets another quivering call. I know what you did to me. So she looks for Mrs. Mack. Peter walks down the stairs.
No, wait, she's calling the police to tell them to complain about the weird phone calls. And then the guy on the phone is like, let me put you on hold for a moment. And then she said, okay, but only for a moment. And I'm like, yeah, right. That's like #1 trick of people that they
Don't tell the police how long you're going to be on hold for.
Yeah.
So Peter walks down the stairs, kind of scaring her. He was upstairs having a sleep and waiting. So she calls the police about the obscene phone calls. The police department says we're busy. A child has just been murdered. Which police departments are not going to, first of all, give you excuses for why they're busy or tell you about late-breaking news on these cases.
Yeah, when her boyfriend came in,
And this is the same desk guy, dickhead, so he's not good at his job.
Yeah, it was like terrible. But when her boyfriend came in from the house, it was kind of like, it might be the killer. Then I wrote, I don't think that he's the killer, because if he is the killer, it's gonna be too obvious and it's gonna be boring. So I really hope that he's not the killer and there's something else about it.
So she says they're talking, and he's pestering her, saying that he doesn't want her to get the abortion. He's just going to quit school and they're going to get married. He proposes to her by saying he's sick of waiting to take a bath behind 6 other guys, and he's going to quit the conservatory so they can get married. But she's like, look, I don't want to get married to you. I don't want to give up on my dreams, which is what marriage is. And then the lieutenant gives the desktop shit because
it's my dream.
The desktop tells them that their phone number begins with fellatio, and one of the other cops giggles recklessly. And Peter gets pissed off and he starts smashing Christmas ornaments, calls Jess a selfish bitch and threatens her. And then he walks past the cop with the lieutenant and the girls who were returning to the house after the search party ended. And then he gets written permission to put a tap on their phone. The lieutenant investigates the room. He starts asking about this Peter guy that just left. And they get a list of girls who left for the holidays and the phone numbers. And they're like, okay, there's just one phone number here that's been getting the calls. And they said, well, there's another line, but it's in Mrs. Mack's room, and it hasn't been getting phone calls. So they phone the paper and they explain the process of tapping the phones, and
It's super old.
It says that there's a car outside. Yeah, they have to. The phone tapping process is crazy. They have a guy from the phone company that is there, and it becomes a thing. The first time you see movies where phones are tapped in the 80s and they're trying to trace the call, you learn they have to keep them on the line for a while. And this movie shows the behind the scenes of the interacting of wires at the phone company.
It's actually
I didn't understand it. It's some complicated
It was very
thing.
funny to watch it. It was find your iPhone, sir. No, they didn't have it.
Yeah.
Yet.
And so
And I just realized that technology did so much bad things to horror movies, because now it's so much harder to scare people. Like, oh yeah, I know. It's easier to find stuff and
my caller ID says vulgar murderer.
Yeah.
I'm not picking this up. Straight to voicemail.
yeah.
So
Not answer.
yeah, and so the people left in the house are Phyllis.
Wants to
who is
lick
the-
my cunt.
Yeah.
Not answer.
Phyllis, who is the Jufro guy's girlfriend, and Jess.
She's not Jewish, by the way.
She looks really Jewish.
I know, very much.
She plays a Jewish girl, and so that's why she has it come home from the holidays. It's presumed. They don't really talk about religion in this, so we're not going to talk about it. So
You're racist.
they get the whole thing set up. They say there's a cop going to be sitting in his car out there. Peter, who was left, is looming outside in the bushes. Phyllis starts crying that she knows that Claire is dead. Then you go upstairs, you hear the killer mumbling and whimpering and rocking Claire's asphyxiated, still bag over the head body in the chair.
When you see Peter outside, it kind of gives you another hint that he might be the killer. For me, I kept believe that he's not the killer, and mostly hope, because I was like, it's still the 70s, and in the 70s they didn't do so much to surprise the audience, and I was like, it might be shallow like that. Okay, let's give you all the hints that it's gonna be him. You're gonna know that it's him.
I don't know if I agree.
And then
with
he said
that
yeah, I think that is
statement.
the killer.
Yeah. So anyway, so Barb walks out. Okay, so Barb is sleeping. She went to bed drunk and angry after talking about turtles screwing for 3 hours. So the killer sneaks down. Yeah, 3 days, and then sneaks into Barb's room. Barb wakes up to a massive asthma attack. And the killer wanders down the hall. Then you have Christmas carolers that come outside the door of the sorority. Christmas carolers are much more popular back in the 70s.
No, but first
groups of people that would come house to house and sing, and then you open the door and maybe
so you've never saw them.
give you some Christmas cheer or something. I don't think I've ever
And
had
money.
a Christmas caroler come to my house. So they're outside the sorority. Jess opens the door. He kind of enjoys them despite the fact that all this shit is going on in her life. The killer goes into Barb's room, says, "It's me, Billy, pretty Agnes," and then starts stabbing her with a glass unicorn figurine. And then an older woman comes, it's a classic horror movie thing where a random character just arrives, gets the characters to leave and tells them that there's been a murder in the park. And Jess is like, yeah, I know, a cop on the phone just told me that. Oh, by the way, the phone is ringing. So she answers the phone and you got some more whimper screaming. And then
Hello?
and then he starts quoting things that Peter was saying when he was talking about her having an abortion. And he said, it's not just like having a wart removed. So he says these exact things, which is another reason that I believe that Peter was the killer. And so Jess is freaked out.
It was too obvious that it would be the killer.
Yeah, but... Okay. So anyway, Jess confides in Phyllis. She thinks it's Peter that's behind all this. And then Peter calls as him, not whimpering, that they can't kill the baby. And then they're tracing the call, back in the phone company, trying to figure out who's calling, but it's not long enough. Ugh. Then the lieutenant calls her and asks her, what was that phone call all about? Which is a bit of a busybody invasion of privacy thing. You thinking of having an abortion there, Jess? What's going on?
Yeah, but he had to ask those questions because it was kind of like a
Yeah,
weird
I guess you're
thing,
trying to establish motive. Okay. So she
It's a responsible cop.
Yeah, and he asks if he was at the house when she received any of the phone calls, and she said, well, yeah, he was actually at the house earlier, having a sleep, so it couldn't have been him. And two strange men in the search party who are looking for the killer pop by the house.
Two clowns.
The lieutenant has the dean of school called so he could get Peter's records. Phyllis goes to wake Barb. The door shuts behind her. Jess gets a call. There's more screaming on the phone, and it's male and female, yelling about Agnes and Billy. They try to trace it, and then the cop tells the lieutenant that the call is coming from their address. And the lieutenant's like, no, it's going to that address. You screwed it up. And he said, no, it's coming from the other line in the house. So like, uh-oh. And that's where you get the classic horror movie. The call is coming from inside the house. They can scream.
Yeah.
So this is like the first one to do that, which is pretty cool. And they radio to the cop who's outside the house. but he can't receive that radio transmission because...
He's dead!
How did he die?
I killed him.
Are you shocked?
Yeah.
He had a badly slit throat.
It was pink, his blood.
Yes.
That was the color back in the 70s of blood. First it was blue and then like pink and...
So what they do now after they can't reach the cop is the lieutenant asks the inept desk cop to call Jess and tell her that she has to leave the house right away. Don't say anything. Don't go back in the house. Don't do anything. And
don't tell her that the killer is in the house.
Yeah. And so he calls her.
But that's the dumb officer from...
And he tells her she has to leave. And of course she resists. Her two friends are upstairs. And he finally cracks and says, the calls are coming from inside the house. So she goes in. She starts calling to Agnes. No answer.
It's funny, like the calls are from inside the house, so first thing she's doing is going upstairs.
Yeah, and so she starts
and
screaming.
we talked about it already.
Yeah, it's a classic
horror movie. Don't go upstairs, no matter what.
Yeah, get the fuck out. And so she starts screaming to Agnes, and no one's returning her yells. So she grabs a fire poker. She breaks down Barb's door, sees them both dead, runs for the door, and then it opens in front of her. She runs down to the cellar, another big no-no. Well, here's the thing. The front door won't open. Mrs. Mack had a problem with it earlier, so they kind of established that it gets stuck sometimes. So she runs down to the cellar, bangs on it, stops, and then she starts exploring the basement and starts hiding. She sees a shape looming and looking out in the window.
No, before that, he tried to like open the door after her, and she kept it locked. And then he just like left.
Oh yeah.
And then he left, she went downstairs, she tried to hide. Then she saw someone is walking outside like a shadow.
Yeah.
And we assume that it's him. And apparently no.
Well, no, we see that it's Peter. Mm-hmm. And Peter asks in a very calm, somewhat detached way.
Are you okay?
Jess, are you alright? And then he breaks in. He smashes in. He doesn't know that it's Jess down there. He's just lurking around the house, and he smashes his way in, calmly walks up to her, and the police arrive. Screaming is heard. Cops break in. It's quiet. They go in, and they find Peter bloody on her lap. She's passed out. Claire's dad is there, too. He passes out from shock. They leave Jess alone, and the camera pans behind the curtain.
Yeah, but when you see him dead, you're like, okay, so he's not the killer. Probably, or that she killed him.
Yeah, you thought that she killed him because he was the killer. He was trying to kill her and do harm to her, so she killed him. And then, either he fell on her and she hit her head and passed out, or he killed her and then he died too, or they killed each other at the same time. So then the camera slowly pans behind a curtain and you hear giggling, muffled.
Really?
Ring around the rosy, Agnes, it's me, Billy.
It was you. Anyway, so next scene, what's her name? Jess? Jess is in bed with the lieutenant and a lot of people like around her bed, and then Claire's dad is passing out. So they're just leaving her there after that trauma.
Yeah, they bring her up to the house instead of bring her to a hospital or something. And so you hear the mumbling and the ring around the rosy after the cops leave. And then it pans out and then a ringing phone is heard. And that's it. You don't find out who the killer was.
No Black Christmas 2.
No, you gotta wait until 2006, right? Because that's when Black Christmas 2 comes out.
No, they did a remake.
I thought it was called The Return of Billy.
Really?
I thought so.
I don't think so. I think it's a remake.
That's shitty that they remade it. And then it was awesome. I mean, I like a movie that doesn't give you all the answers in a way.
Steve Martin.
It makes you want more. It makes you think about it, and so you're trying to play things out in your head.
Yeah.
And then one little neat, clever, because I like play on words and stuff like that, the music was by the Counterpoint Sisters. and there's a band called the Pointer Sisters, so I think that's kind of a response to that. And yeah, Black Christmas, badass movie.
Check it. Steve Martin watched it 27 times, and Elvis watched it as a tradition every Halloween.
No, every Christmas.
Every Christmas, sorry, every Christmas, yeah.
Yeah.
I read it to you, that's my fact.
Yeah, then how did you
I'll decide
fuck it
that.
up?
I will decide what's
You don't
happened.
decide what the
I'll
Elvis
decide
does.
whatever, yeah. And we all love Elvis, so we love that movie.
Elvis has a lot of good Christmas songs, too.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, we're at 30 minutes.
Alright.
Subscribe! Merry Christmas almost after Halloween.
Yeah, watch it.
Yeah. Yeah, but watch the movie if you didn't watch, and if you still want to watch after all those spoilers.
Yeah, you should, I mean, whatever, you could, it's good.
Yeah.
Yael Matt
Really
recap, social media, Facebook, Twitter,
Instagram.
Retweet this, like it, post a comment, tell your friend about it, write a review on iTunes, SoundCloud,
Yeah.
and don't make vulgar phone calls because it's a lot easier to trace nowadays.
Yeah.
All right, fellatio.
Fellatio.